Today on Beyond 6 Seconds.
Getting fired was honestly one of the best things that ever happened to me, because what it enabled me to do is take a breath and say, oh, cool. Now I have a second to actually do everything with one strong herd that I wanted to do.
Welcome to Beyond 6 Seconds, the podcast that goes beyond the 6-second first impression to share the extraordinary stories and achievements of everyday people. I'm your host, Carolyn Keel. On today's episode, I'm speaking with Forrest Schaffer. Forrest is a current 9-to-5er who's focused on taking his current ventures to new heights. Between his passions for digital marketing, personal finance, and entrepreneurship, Forrest has found a way to combine them to continuously scale his first business, One Strong Herd, that produces quite an interesting and unique fitness product. But as many stories go, the path to success surely isn't a perfectly straight line. Forrest, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm really happy to have you here today. So yeah, I'm really excited to learn about your entrepreneurial journey and the types of experiences you've had and the lessons you've learned. So tell me about your fitness brand, One Strong Herd, and how do you get the inspiration to start it?
Sure. So from a pretty young age, I grew up in sort of an entrepreneurial household. Both of my parents own businesses themselves. So I think from a young age, the seed was sort of planted, so to speak. And I've always wanted to build something, kind of greater than myself, right? And when I was in the gym, I'm trying to think maybe 3.5 years ago now, I sort of had this idea, it just sort of trickled into my mind, and I thought about it a little bit more. And then I developed a prototype, and then I've developed a version 1. And the product that I'm talking about is a non-slip bench mat designed specifically for powerlifters. And it's an extremely niche product. It's very interesting. It's even a little quirky to some. But I knew when I had the original product idea that this could be something special. And sort of from that point on, things have scaled up to, we're currently on the third version of the product. And, we sell a bunch of other things like clothing and accessories and things like that. So that was sort of the initial point, if you will, with starting with that product.
I see. And where'd you get the name from?
So the name of the company sort of stemmed from one of the people that I originally was going to launch the brand with. We both are Spanish speakers and we studied abroad at the same school. And we were originally going to call the brand Toro Fuerte, but we didn't end up going with that just because we wanted to stick to, an American name or, an English version of the name. But we really liked that kind of like the herd mentality, if you will. And we were actually just going to be the herd, but there's a sports podcast that is, called The Herd. So we sort of pivoted into One Strong Herd, and it ended up fitting very well just because, strength training and things of that nature, just the strength kind of in numbers, physically, and then strength in numbers with weight, if you will.
Oh, very cool. When did you start that business?
The beginning of 2017 is when I started creating different content, and everything was really originally going to be focused around nutrition. And because, in the fitness industry, there's a lot of, I don't know how to say it, really like ambiguity and a lot of false information around different diets and fads and trends and things of that nature. So we wanted to kind of shine a light on some of those and show people this, a more realistic side of fitness. And, of course it scaled into the product side of things because that's a revenue stream. But yeah, beginning of 2017 is when the content started. And then shortly after that was the product idea for the backbone, which is that non-slip bench press mat. And then, from that point on, it was kind of create a version 1, test it a little bit, get some feedback, create version 2, and then it just iterated from there.
And did you start the company with some business partners, or how did that come to be?
Yeah. So the original person that I had mentioned, he was involved in the content side of things for a short period of time, but we kind of just grew apart vision wise. And then when I had the idea for the non-slip bench press mat, because it was really my first entrepreneurial venture, mind you, I'm 25 now. And at the time I was 22, I really just graduated from college, didn't have a lot of experience. And I wanted, someone to go on this venture with me. So I sought out 2 people that are, in the powerlifting industry themselves. We were friends. We went to college together and we still are friends, so they sort of joined, and up until I want to say about, when was it? almost a year ago now, unfortunately, we sort of parted ways. And, I mentioned we're still cool now because, we are and things were amicable, but our visions grew apart. And that just happens sometimes,
Mm-hmm. What's your current vision of the company and where you want to take it?
So right now, I think I'm most focused on scaling the backbone up because although it's been direct to consumer right now, I'm currently working with a manufacturer because right now I make the product myself, like in my house, I make it. But just in terms of scalability, that doesn't really give it legs because for every one I sell, I then have to make. And I think that there is an enormous business to business play that can be sought out. And without manufacturing in place, that's sort of not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So I think that's more of like the product vision and where I see the company going from a product perspective. Because, like I mentioned, I sell t-shirts and scrunchies and fanny packs and other cute accessories. I just did a collaboration with the local gym that I go to. They wanted some fanny packs. So we did a collaboration. But I think the larger vision is just to be an extremely supportive and defiant fitness brand that really anybody, no matter, where they are in the world, can align with this humble is welcome message that I've been really trying to push because all of the brand ambassadors that we sponsor, whether it's giving them free clothing or, paying for their competition fees when they compete against other athletes, we make sure that these people are humble in nature and what they do and really respect the sport and respect their competitors. So I think that that's kind of the main vision that I'm pushing now, just all inclusive, just extending to really any athlete, no matter what they do.
All right, that's great. And do you see yourself eventually branching out into other products? Like I know you have water bottles and scrunchies and t-shirts, but besides the powerlifting non-slip mat, do you see yourself creating in the future other products that are very specific to powerlifting or other types of exercises for fitness professionals?
Yeah, I would love to. I think that the only issue with scaling sort of beyond the point that I'm at now is it's a capital standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. And, I've already been sort of working on a few other little projects here and there, but after doing a lot of research, you sort of hit this wall where you're like, oh boy, okay, so if I'm going to get this product created, I'm going to have to go through, an injection molding manufacturer. And that's, a mold for that is going to be at least $7,000. And then you talk about actually doing a manufacturing run, then that's another $3,000. So these things sort of start to tally up the more my, I guess we'll say, entrepreneurial mind starts to kind of run as I want to create these products that I see a need to create. So, yeah.
Very cool. So you've been running this business starting in 2017. It's going on. Now it's year 3 of the business. You started with some partners, and for the past year or so, you've been back on your own, developing the vision and growing the business. Now, have you been working a 9-to-5 job in addition to doing this?
I sure have. Wow. Yeah. So, I still work 9 to 5. I do digital marketing and advertising at an agency right now. Before that, I was in the healthcare industry. And then after that, I sort of took a risk, we'll call it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like every person my age, right? I'm only 25. I've been out of school for 3.5 years now or so. And I was recruited by the CEO of this startup in the town that I was working at with this healthcare company. Mm-hmm. And it was a fantastic opportunity. I had the opportunity to leverage not only the things that I had learned building the fitness brand, but then also the digital marketing and advertising side of things. Mm-hmm. And I took the leap. I did it. And I had multiple interviews with the CEO, with his advisors, different people. And right off the bat, it wasn't right. There was something that was off. It was just, it didn't feel right. And believe it or not, 9 days in, he let me go.
Wow. Because you had been working at a 9-to-5 when he recruited you, I understand. So then, you took the risk of leaving that 9-to-5 to join this startup. Is that right?
Right. And a very comfortable position in the marketing department. It was, a fun job. The culture was fantastic at this healthcare company. So yeah, that was definitely, it was a risk. It was a little leap of faith and I couldn't turn back.
So yeah, what a big shock. So Like, what do you do after a situation like that? Do you try to go back to your previous company, or do you just sort of say, well, no, I'm going to go on and find another 9 to 5? Or like, where do you go from there?
I just had this moment I remember sitting in my car and thinking, wait, this doesn't happen to people my age. This is ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like this can't be actually happening. But sure enough, it had happened. And fortunately, one of my mentors that I, had worked with in a previous job at actually a previous agency before the healthcare company, he had been fired 4 times from previous jobs. And he was an IBMer and he was let go. And then he was doing similar like semiconductor work that he was doing for IBM. He then was doing that on like oil rigs overseas in South Korea. And then he was let go from that job. So he just, his career was filled with these sort of like career letdowns, so to speak. And something that he taught me that immediately popped in my mind was like how to bounce back and how to reinvent yourself, right? Because when something like this happens, I don't care who you are. I don't care what level of expertise you are. It hurts. It's a total shock to the system. And you're like, whoa, what's going on? But something that sort of kept my head on straight, so to speak, was the fact that although I was fired for, whatever reason, it wasn't a good fit, this or that. Look, we could sit here all day and try to think about why it happened. That won't do us any good. But the important part is that the skills that I've acquired over my career, although short, that wasn't taken away from me. I'm still a strong digital marketer and a strong digital advertiser. And I understand the strategies and implementation and reporting and all of those special things that, I've used to drive incredible results for clients. Those things didn't just magically disappear when I got fired. So that sort of, again, it kept me grounded when I would apply to the next job. And I was fortunate enough to get back on my feet relatively quickly, now working at this agency that I'm at now. But, definitely it hurts. And, if you take it the wrong way or you don't bounce back strong, I can see it having really negative effects.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's absolutely helpful to keep that optimistic mindset and remember that you still have an incredible wealth of skills and experiences. And the fact that a particular role or position didn't work out or ended very unexpectedly doesn't take away from everything that you've done up until that point and everything that you still can do. I talked with a lot of people who have had struggles in their careers in terms of either getting laid off or losing a job and then just really struggling to find their way and find the next role. And I think it's great that you had a mentor to help remind you and keep you in the correct mindset to look forward. But what other things did you put into place in order to find your next role? Like, did you leverage your network? Were there other things that you did that helped you get back into a 9 to 5 relatively quickly? Yeah,
that's a great question. So I think when this happens to anybody, you have this immediate thought of like, oh my God, is what I'm doing the right thing? Mm-hmm. So I had this moment where I was like, you know what? My dad owned a construction business when I was growing up, and I really like doing that. So I'm just going to go into construction now because digital marketing and advertising isn't working out for me. Mm-hmm. Right. So I had like this like split roads of like, okay, do I throw away 3 years of job experience in digital marketing to just go into another career? So honestly, I was applying to, I didn't really leverage my network as well as I probably should have, but I set up a few filters on like Glassdoor and Indeed that would, give me notifications on jobs that I was not only qualified for, but sort of met keyword criteria. And that really helped cut down on just surfing through hundreds of job posts every week or even every day. Yeah. So simultaneously, I was applying to both digital marketing and advertising jobs and then like internship positions for construction because my attitude was, if it works out, hey, it works out and let's do it. I have an interest in it and we'll just kind of see where it goes.
Wow. Fortunately, you were able to get back into another 9 to 5. And then plus you still had your fitness brand that continued as well. Did you change anything with the way that you managed your fitness brand as a result of the experience you had leaving the startup or joining a new 9 to 5 doing digital marketing?
Yeah, believe it or not, getting fired was honestly one of the best things that ever happened to me because what it enabled me to do is take a second, although difficult, just getting laid off and fired. It allowed me to just take a breath and say, oh, cool. Now I have a second to actually do everything with One Strong Herd that I wanted to do. So like a week after I was let go, I was building a new website. I transitioned from WooCommerce to Shopify. I opened up a new bank account. I was taking care of all this paperwork that had needed to be done. So it was really like a fantastic opportunity to, I guess you could say that it wasn't necessarily the healthiest route that I was using, working so much, just kind of ignore the fact that I was laid off, which is, something that I think people need to pay attention to. But, it allowed me to just expand the herd, especially since this was kind of the first time where I was, alone since my business partners had left. It was a perfect chunk of time that I could just devote to this thing that I've been working on so hard. And I mean, what came out of it is new fanny packs, new scrunchies, taking the version 2 backbone, the non-slip bench mat, and then creating the version 3, new website. There was just so much that happened, and it ended up being a stress reliever, being able to work on all of these things and just get them done, because while at a 9 to 5, there's only so much time in a day. So now that I'm back to the 9 to 5, it's really just been a game of balance and really focusing on my mental health, which, everybody I think could do a better job at, between social media and, there's a lot of exterior pressures in, I think, your life that, can sort of get in the way of succeeding and just staying on the path that you're meant to stay on, whether that's, your entrepreneurial path or with school or your career or your personal finance. Like, it's all so personal, and people just need to focus on that, I think.
And I agree. I think we all could do a better job of focusing on that. There's just so many things that people are involved in, between social media and the pressures of work and life, it can get a bit overwhelming and a bit isolating at times. So yeah, it's really important to be able to do that. Speaking of being involved in a lot of different things. So, you have your 9 to 5, you still have your fitness brand, but I understand that you're also a content creator and you have other passions for helping to teach people about different topics, and personal finance is one of those many topics. So in addition to the fitness brand and the 9 to 5, how do you create your content and decide what types of advice around finance you share with your audience?
Sure. So, while I felt the herd was kind of under control, so to speak, I wanted to, like you mentioned, just get more into the content side of things because of my background in digital marketing and advertising. It's funny, I feel like I'm going to tangent for a second, but I feel like I have all of these pieces, right, that somebody needs to be a successful business owner or entrepreneur. And I'm just on my path trying to put it all together. And it's so frustrating sometimes because I just want to be there, but I just need to, focus on sort of stepping back and, like I said, sort of enjoying the path. But to more directly answer the question, so I started a YouTube channel called Here We Are Back in the Car. If you search my name, Forrest Schaffer, on YouTube, you'll find it. And the main part of the series is me recording myself driving around in my car, and I talk about different topics. And right now I'm focusing on building content around personal finance, because as a millennial, I cannot stress the importance of saving and being financially savvy. Now, I'm not talking about dumping money in the stock market. I'm not talking about complex trading strategies or day trading or anything ridiculous like that. I'm talking about looking at how much money you make in a month, budgeting that money, living a little below your means, and using the excess money to either put into an emergency fund, roll forward to budget it for months ahead, pay down debt, things like that. Because I do not know what the state of Social Security is going to be like by the time my generation is ready to retire. And I see that not many people save, and it's something that everyone should do. I mean, compound interest is everyone's best friend. And the earlier you start, the more it'll work for you. And, I'm a big fan of the quote that, you want your money to work for you, right? You want your money to do things for you while you're sleeping. And that sort of segues into wealth building, which is, another topic that I've discussed on the Here We Are Back in the Car video series. that wealth is so much more important than status, and owning assets that actually produce you income, whether it's active or passive, is so much more important than owning things that ultimately are just materials that don't actually make you feel better about yourself, right? And that kind of goes back to what we were saying about just like mental health balance checks and things like that with social media, right?
Yeah, I think that's so important because I don't know, even, when I was in school, and I'm sure it's the same way now, I don't remember ever getting any kind of a formal education around personal finance or even something as basic as budgeting or understanding what a savings account is. I think people either just learn that from family or friends or just like reading, but you kind of have to figure it out on your own. And I think that puts so many people at a disadvantage of, how do you get information that's trustworthy or unbiased? Because I think most people have at least a somewhat maybe even dysfunctional or not completely unbiased relationship with money. Either you inherit it from the way that your family managed money or you do the opposite of the way your family managed money. And there's absolutely so much more that we need to learn. So I think it's a really great resource to be able to share that information with people in a way that is really straightforward, that you're not trying to sell a financial product. So there's no bias with that. So yeah, I think that's great.
I'm happy that you touched on the point that a lot of people, money is such a tough subject, right? It's a sore subject. When you're raised, you're taught, don't talk about money, right? But there's a very small sliver of the pie where, of course it's inappropriate to ask someone, hey, how much money do you make? Right? Like that's kind of weird, but there are other ways that you can talk about personal financial education that is like the other 98% of the pie, where you don't even have to talk about figures, right? You just have to talk about vehicles for budgeting and saving, et cetera. And one of the most recent videos that I did, actually not in my car because, I had to record my screen, was a budgeting spreadsheet that I built. I use a software called You Need a Budget, which is absolutely fantastic. I don't get anything for saying that, but I use it, and I put my friends onto it and they love it. And it's just a really great way to, stay on track of your finances. But the spreadsheet that I built just in Google Spreadsheets is super simple, because I find a lot of the time, these personal finance things can be so overwhelming to people and they kind of want to get into it. It's the same thing with fitness, right? When you start a fitness program, it's way too much. You go to the gym and you're so sore the day after that, like, you don't even want to do it anymore, right? You're like, oh my God, this is what working out is like. I don't want to do this ever. It's the same thing with budgeting. You're like, oh God, this is what budgeting is like. I'm looking at this spreadsheet with 100 cells for 1 month and I don't want to do this. So point being, I built a spreadsheet that's super duper simple, and it just allows people to get a top line view of how much do you make, budget that, right? How much did you spend this month? Calculate that. Then it gives you, I call the column like gravy or not, because, do you have a little extra gravy this month or not? And then it does a calculation, and all you do is you literally copy a column and then paste it into the next month. And it's like the easiest way to stay on top of your expenses. So it's just things like that where, although there's so much content already created about these topics, I've found ways to fortunately either make it a little bit easier to explain or show people and demonstrate. And that's my biggest focus right now, just in terms of content.
That's great. As a business owner yourself, do you ever talk in any of your videos or your content about having a business and the financials around, whether you put together a business as an investment or how to either fund or budget in a way that you can keep your business running?
I haven't really gotten to that yet because, to be completely honest, I'm still figuring it out myself. There's definitely a lot more that goes into it. And people think like, sure, you could just start up like some sort of drop shipping company where you just set up a website and then, you import products from AliExpress or Alibaba and then you just sell them. You never touch the inventory and it ships to the person's house when they order it through your website. That is a little bit easier to manage from a financial standpoint. But when you get into, manufacturing and merchandise, you have these, although, for me, I'm lucky it's a small supply chain. I still have to manage this product from this supplier, then this product from this supplier. And now that I'm, actually, hopefully next week, I will hear back from this manufacturer with a quote on whether or not we can really do this product at the order quantity that I need. that's going to then sort of, again, change the financial model that I've been running with, which has really just been put capital up front, buy some shirts or accessories, start at price A, then you do a markdown to price B, markdown to price C. And then, you use different vehicles to sell the products with, coupon codes, buy one, get one, things of that nature. So ultimately, theoretically, if we're running, a 50% or 100%, however you want to say it, margin, we're like doubling our money every time we do that. But it's not always that easy, right? Because you have different pieces that you have to worry about. Now, you could go super in depth and be like, okay, well, I'm going to calculate this. So, this t-shirt is going to lose $1 of value every month as this encouragement to try to sell it. But, you have your website platform and you have your hosting, right? You have different tools. You have shipping, right? I offer free shipping in the United States. It's not exactly the cheapest thing to do that. And even shipping to Canada from the United States is extremely expensive. Yep. So, it's all those little things when they start to add up where money management, if you're not totally nailing it from a personal level, the next business level is a whole step up.
Yeah. So it sounds like you really are, I guess, learning how it works as you go and as you work through the different situations with your.
It's definitely intense. I'll tell you that much.
I believe it.
I learn so much. It's crazy. Like I look at this road that I have ahead and I'm like, oh my God, why am I not more successful? Or why don't I have this? Or why don't I have that? But then when I look behind and I go, wow, look at all the things that I've done. I'm like, okay, we're good. I'm only 25. Like we're in a good spot. Like, let's relax, let's stop comparing ourselves to other people and let's just be happy with what we have now,
Definitely. Yeah. I also wanted to ask you a little bit about the topic of digital marketing. One Strong Herd is an online business and you have the background in digital marketing. How do you use your digital marketing background to help market One Strong Herd online?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Yeah, I love anything digital marketing and advertising. Yeah, definitely. We can riff on this for a while because I'm definitely probably the most passionate about that next to personal finance. But, just in terms of leveraging my experience, really the main driver, in terms of revenue for One Strong Herd comes from our Instagram. And although we don't have a very large following, it is a very niche following. So it's relatively easy, once we launched the backbone to, use different hashtags and target the correct audiences to ultimately drive sales. But something that I've been recently testing out is working with different influencers and doing giveaways and then sending them, either free things with a discount code, et cetera, just to try to push the needle and get a little bit more brand awareness. Because sure, I could spend money on Instagram like most other fitness companies do. Mm-hmm. And the branding portion, it's really tough. So it's been a balance of trying to figure out, like, do I advertise? Do I send out free products? How are we tracking all of these things, right? How are we tracking the return on investment if we're sending free products to someone versus if we're, running a likes campaign on Facebook or Instagram? So, it's just, unfortunately, everything has pretty much been an organic approach just because, unfortunately, I don't really have the budget, right, to do like a big paid campaign. Yeah. So, just going down the organic route has worked so far.
Yeah. And I think, as much organic traffic and optimization as you can get is that's golden because you don't have to go out and pay for it and maintain and get it through advertising. But your business sounds like it's perfect for the Instagram influencer crowd because you have a product and, if you can have people posting about it and using it and featuring it, yeah, I think that's great. And do you do any kind of special optimization with keywords? Because I know there are different tools where you can kind of see what keywords are popular. And even if you don't go and purchase them through like Google ads or anything, you can kind of optimize your keywords on your online platforms so that they turn up better in search. Do you go down to that level at all?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. I think that has honestly been, which I forgot to mention, has been a large driver of traffic to the website. So if you go into Google and you type in either, let's see, what do we rank for? If you type in non-slip bench press mat or bench press grip pad, I usually show up first. And then I have a featured snippet, some sort of snippet that pulls in the reviews that I've received on this product. And then, I have like a blog post that shows up. And then I think a while ago, I'm not sure if it's the featured snippet on Google, but like when you would type in bench press grip pad, it would literally pull into the answer box from my website, and even on Shopify, that's fantastic just because, normally WooCommerce, I want to say is a little, or I should say WordPress is a little bit better with SEO stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was really, really cool to transition everything over to Shopify and, keep the, not only, just the domain authority and keep everything really strong from an SEO perspective, because believe it or not, a lot of people search for non-slip bench mat and, things of that nature. And a little tip for everybody listening, if you want to find keywords that your competitors are ranking for, or just keywords in general, start to search for how you would describe your product. And then also think about how someone who is searching for your product that might not know what your product is, you know what I'm saying? Like if they have a need, but they don't know exactly what they want yet, type that into Google, scroll all the way to the bottom, and you're going to see other suggestions that Google is saying, hey, ding, 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 here you go. This is what people are searching for when they're trying to find your product. So if you bake those keywords into, either the H1, the headline 1 title of a page, or within the ad copy on a page, you hopefully from there, you'll start to see better ranking. And now that was a super top line SEO sort of how to rank on page 1, air quotes sort of thing. SEO isn't my main focus, but, just being in the business, you kind of learn about it. So I'm definitely lucky to be able to be so high up in Google for a pretty competitive field. I think we have like 7 or 8 competitors that also sell a non-slip bench mat, but we were the first. Don't tell anybody.
That's great. And it's, also important to keep in mind, as you said, to think about how your customers would describe your product, even base it on the types of questions they're typing into Google that your product could be the answer for, and to be very specific to the targeting. So you wouldn't pick probably a keyword like fitness because it's way too broad to play in that area, but something very specific to your product is a really great way to build in that niche. And, you don't have to have like, millions and millions of people coming to the site. You really just want that relevant and interested traffic, the people who are the most potentially interested in buying from you.
Exactly. Yeah. A big thing that I've realized is just like quality over quantity at any point, right? If, and this speaks to really any content that you want to create, right? It doesn't have to just be product focused. It can be, it can be a to-do list. It can be a blog post on really whatever. If you find a niche where people are searching and they're either not getting the most relevant content or information, and you think that you can provide it better, if it is non-existent, then you can provide it. Or if other people are providing it, if you can provide that content, in a better way, more uniform, however, that's an opportunity to make a video, right? To start a YouTube channel. That's an opportunity to write a blog post. That's an opportunity to create a product, right? So you start to see that Google and all these different search engines do such a good job at telling us what people want, and we just need to give it to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And is there a particular online tool that you use to identify what keyword searches people are doing, or do you literally just go into Google and start searching?
So normally I honestly just go into Google and start searching. But, if I was working with a client, then I would leverage something like SEMrush, formerly known. So yeah, there are so many tools that allow you to do keyword research, but you have to pay for them. So that's, just leveraging Google in that way is just the easiest way to get insight into what kind of content should I be creating, and look at competitors. Competitors, although they may already be doing it and sort of saturating the market, quote unquote, there's still room for everybody. Just do more research, figure out how you can, again, explain the information in a better way that's more concise, make a shorter video, make it more interesting. There are so many different ways that you can go.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Forrest, thank you. I really enjoyed talking with you about, learning about your story and talking about personal finance and digital marketing. And, I'm just so excited to see where One Strong Herd winds up growing to. It sounds like you're really just at the beginning, and there's just so much runway and so much opportunity for your brand and your products to continue to grow. So how can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about One Strong Herd?
They can either go to the website at One Strong Herd, The Instagram handle is also at One Strong Herd, all spelled out, HERD, like a group of, cows or bulls, I guess is how you would say it. Mm-hmm. So that's where they can find me. And then if you want to, my personal Instagram handle is just at Forrest Schaffer, which I'm sure my name will be in the title, the description of the podcast. And, if anybody has any questions about digital marketing or personal finance or anything like that, I'm always available to chat. And I really love, just connecting with other people, because that's ultimately what this is all about.
That's fantastic. And I understand that you also have a bit of a free gift for our listeners around Audible.
Sure. I'm assuming that there will be a link dropped in the description. Yes. And if you click that, you will have access to Audible for 1 month, and you will get 2 free audiobooks. Totally, risk-free. Sign up, check it out. I listen to so many books because I'm not a huge, reader myself, but I love listening in the car, if I'm at work and have a little bit of downtime. It's just a really great opportunity to absorb content when you might just be doing something different, like listening to music or watching TV, etc. So I encourage everybody to check out Audible if you don't already have it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for that offer. And yes, I'm going to put that link to the free trial in the show notes of the podcast, as well as links to your website, to One Strong Herd, to your Instagram accounts, so people can find it there.
Excellent.
Is there anything else that you want our listeners to know about, or anything else that they can help or support you with?
No, other than, reach out, talk to me. I love, like I said, meeting new people, connecting with people. That's what really all of this is all about. Creating this content is really a vehicle for me to connect with other people. And if you've listened this far in and you're about my age or even older and you're on your own entrepreneurial path, just keep going, because it's your path. It's not anybody else's. Don't compare yourself. Just keep doing you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Forrest.
Thank you. I had a fantastic time talking with you.
Thanks for listening to Beyond 6 Seconds. Please help us spread the word about this podcast. Share it with a friend, give us a shout out on your social media, or write a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast player. You can find all of our episodes on our website, www.beyond6seconds.com. Until next time.